I've worked with over 4,000 private clients in the last decade, and there's a fascinating phenomenon I've observed, especially with women. They have a spiritual awakening and begin doing the inner work of healing and personal development, but as they grow and evolve, they often struggle to find healthy, wholesome romantic love. For some women, their inner work makes them realize that they are in unfulfilling relationships that at some point must end. They think, I've outgrown my partner, but I'm scared to leave. For others, they got out of an unfulfilling relationship, but now find themselves repeating past patterns over and over. Like my client, let's call her Meg, who one day said to me, I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men. And for other women, they try to do the regular dating game, swiping on dating apps and going on dates, only to realize that there weren't a lot of potential partners out there that matched their new level of consciousness and growth. They think, I can't find a spiritually aligned partner. In one way or another, all of these women end up feeling sad and lonely because they don't have an aligned partner that matches their growth, and all of them struggle with love. In fact, this issue is so common that when I polled the women in my audience, a whopping 92% said they struggle to find healthy romantic love. And if this is how you're feeling right now, by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of why you struggle with love and what you need to change in order to welcome the beautiful love you deserve in your life. Here's a hint. Part of the reason why you struggle to find love is actually something quite positive and healthy, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. But more on that later. When I looked across all my client stories, I found that there were three main reasons why women often struggle with romantic love. The first one is beliefs and programs. I've talked with so many women, both clients and even my friends, who don't realize how many beliefs they have in their minds that are not actually theirs, but rather they're projections that were programmed into their minds as young girls. We often believe that what we think is coming from our own minds, but you'd be surprised to know just how many core beliefs are coming from society and older generations and how they raised us. And these beliefs set the stage for women to get into relationships that end up feeling so unfulfilling and misaligned. Here are some examples. See if you spot any of these inside of you. The belief that women lose their value with age, and that if they cannot find a partner before the age of 30, they are doomed to live alone for the rest of their lives. Says who? Why can't a woman take her damn time to find a partner? What's the rush? What's wrong with a woman staying single until she finds a partner, if she wants one at all? Or the belief that women absolutely must have children and that they should do it early, preferably before 40, because otherwise it's too late. And that if they do not have children, their lives will be meaningless. What? Why is a woman's value attached to the idea of having children? If she doesn't want to have children, that's completely fine, and her value does not change at all. And if she does want to have biological children, she can take a deep breath and relax, because she can get pregnant literally up until the moment she goes into menopause, so there really is no rush. Or for heterosexual women, the belief that quality men are so limited that she might as well settle for any warm body because it's better to have anyone by her side than to be single. What? There's a saying in my native Portuguese that busts this myth really well. It goes like this: mais vale só do que mal acompanhada. The rough translation of this is, I'd rather be alone than in bad company. But for women, this idea of them only choosing a partner who's mature and worthy of them is so foreign. I cannot tell you how many women I have spoken to who say to me, oh well, he's the best I could find and he's better than nothing. Or the belief that women often have about the potential of their partners. If I had a dime for every time a client said to me,
my partner isn't there yet, but I see so much potential in him. I just need to be patient and help him get there,
I would be a billionaire by now. Do you recognize yourself in any of these beliefs I just shared? These beliefs and programs are only the tip of the iceberg in terms of how women are indoctrinated to think about relationships, and they actually work like a repelling energy, keeping real love away. The second reason why women often struggle with love is that they have unhealed wounds. These are traumas or unhealed experiences from the past that negatively impact your ability to experience healthy love. In my experience with clients and in my own life, I found that there are three types of internal wounds that most impact relationships. The first and most important are what's known as bonding wounds. This means that a person does not know how to maturely connect with another human being. Bonding wounds happen when we're children and we don't know how to bond with our parents or caretakers in a healthy way. So if you have childhood trauma or were raised by parents who themselves had bonding wounds, you likely developed that way too. People who have bonding wounds sometimes suffer from severe attachment or clinginess to their partners, are always afraid of being abandoned, are often jealous, and sometimes they can even be avoidant and always hold their intimate partners at a safe distance, not wanting to get too close for fear of being hurt. This was one of my biggest obstacles to healthy love, and the reason why I ended up in multiple toxic connections that were so bad for me. It's because I was essentially a wounded little child trying to have an adult relationship with another wounded little child. I remember that in one of my previous relationships, I felt so unsafe and unseen, and that made me really insecure, always thinking that my partner was going to leave me for someone else. And I remember how many times I thought, where is this insecurity coming from? I could see that I was behaving in an immature way, but those bonding wounds were so deep that they overrode my adult self. Bonding wounds mean we freeze in our development and act like immature children in relationships. And guess what? 90% of people on this planet who are in normal relationships are actually playing out immature bonding patterns. And they're playing these patterns out while thinking that it's actually love when it's not. You want proof of this? Let's look at some famous romantic movie storylines, and some of these movies may actually be on your favorites list. One of them was on mine. What about the classic The Notebook? For years, this movie was my favorite, and look at what it was telling me about my own bonding wounds. Notebook tells the story of Noah and Allie across many years as they come in and out of each other's lives until finally ending up together. They're portrayed as soulmates, but much of their bond is fueled by volatility, obsession, and an inability to regulate their own emotions without one another. Their chaotic passion is mistaken for deep love. Or the Disney classic Beauty and the Beast, where the character Belle falls in love with her captor, normalizing the idea that patience and unconditional love can transform abusive or controlling partners. What about the 2018 box office hit A Star is Born? It tells the story of how Allie sacrifices her boundaries and stabilities to save Jackson, who struggles with addiction. This romanticizes the idea that love means rescuing or suffering with a partner. And of course, what about Jerry Maguire's eternal line?
You complete me.
This suggests that wholeness comes from another person, not from within, and it fuels codependency rather than mature connection. I could go on and on just talking about how famous movies have ruined our ability to experience mature love, but in reality, Hollywood movies have always just been a mirror that reflects what we as a society think and experience. The second internal wound that plays out in relationships is a lack of personal power. This wound comes not only from a woman's childhood, but also the generational wounds that she carries in her body from all of the women who came before her and did not have agency to live their lives as they wanted. Women who had no say in their lives and no self-authority or sense of power to rely on because society already had an idea of what a woman should be, and she could not deviate from that. These restrictions on personal power and choice still play out in many places on Earth today. Women being forced into marriage or expected to have children even if they don't want to. For others, the lack of personal power can show up in more subtle ways, like the inability to impose boundaries in relationships. For me, this played out big time in past relationships because I used to lose myself in a relationship. My sense of power, my boundaries, and my individuality would just disappear under the needs of my partner. I got so bad in a past relationship that my mom sat me down and said to me,
"What happened to you? I don't recognize you anymore."
That was a big wake-up call that got me to evaluate what I was doing and what needed to change in me. The third internal wound that affects relationships is feeling undeserving. So many women have no idea what they deserve, and they end up with partners who are so inadequate and unfulfilling. I've had many female clients start crying when I say this simple but powerful affirmation to them: you deserve so much more. When they realize just how much they truly deserve and how little they are receiving, there's a switch that goes off in their hearts, lighting the way for profound growth. The third reason why spiritual women often struggle with love is that they experience profound internal changes during a spiritual awakening. I see this a lot inside my private community. Once our members start to heal bonding wounds, release limiting beliefs about love, and step into their authentic power, something incredible happens. They now want a different type of relationship or none at all. They're no longer attracted to the same type of person they were before because now they can see how immature and wounded their idea of love was in the first place. Remember all those movie examples I shared before? Now storylines like The Notebook, Beauty and the Beast, A Star is Born, or Jerry Maguire make absolutely no sense whatsoever to this woman. She can clearly see all the destructive relationship patterns and wants nothing to do with them. And when these internal changes occur within a spiritual woman, it's one of the most incredible transformations that can happen in her life. I remember when this happened to me years ago. I was in a complicated situationship where the person kept running away from me and playing hard to get, and I thought it was romantic to keep chasing her until she finally moved away, and that was the end of that. When I finally healed my bonding wounds and I started to see love in a more mature way, I looked back on this situation and thought to myself, what exactly was attractive about playing games like that? I couldn't possibly see myself ever doing that again. It almost made me physically sick. And I've had many clients who've gone through the same inner transformations where their idea of a relationship and what attracted them changed too. But although these internal changes are amazing because it's only through them that you can find real love, there's also a temporary phase where you may spend a lot of time alone before the right partner shows up. And that has to be okay. Okay, so now that you know the root causes of why spiritual women often struggle with love, what's the solution? First, you have to release outdated beliefs. You have to be willing to throw all your beliefs out the window if they no longer serve you. Here are a couple of journal prompts that you can use to get started with that work. What do I believe to be true about love? You have to be true to yourself here and write the truth of what your mind currently believes, even if it's bad. I remember doing this exercise, and one of the first beliefs that I had to confront was this painful one. Eventually, everybody leaves me. It was really heartbreaking at first to realize that this was something I believed about love, but if I didn't write it down and acknowledge it, I would never be able to change that core belief. And for you, the beliefs can be different, but they are there too, deep inside of you. Another journaling question I use with clients is this one. What are my beliefs about romantic relationships? Here, you can spot some core beliefs that may be holding you back or making you settle for unfulfilling partners. For example, the belief that you can only have a child if you find a man. I see this a lot in women who want to have children. They don't even conceive of the alternatives because they have societal beliefs programmed in them that say a woman cannot have a child without a partner. But do you see how this can be limiting, especially if you're spiritually growing and you're willing to wait for the right partner instead of just settling for anyone? It means that having a child feels dependent on finding the right partner. This can create a lot of stress for many women. But what if you were to change that belief and simply say, I want to be a mother regardless? Now, having a child is not dependent on finding the ideal partner. It's a desire that you have, and you will find alternatives if the partner doesn't show up. I personally know multiple women who have frozen their eggs and are now living their lives without any pressure because they know they can choose to have a child when they feel ready, regardless of whether they have a partner or not. You see what happens when you consciously release outdated beliefs that are not aligned with you anymore? Then, once you take an inventory of your beliefs around love and choose to reset how you think, now it's time to heal internal wounds. The bonding wounds, the lack of personal power, the feeling of being unworthy of love, all of that needs to be healed in order for you to find meaningful relationships. And what do all these wounds have in common? Spiritually, they're located in your 3 lower chakras. Feeling worthiness means you know you deserve to be here on earth and deserve the good things the universe has to give you. That's a first chakra belief. It's a belief that says, I deserve to exist and receive good. Experiencing a healthy and mature connection and healing your bonding wounds happens at the level of your second chakra. That's the chakra of intimate connection and bonding. A healthy second chakra says, I deserve to bond in a healthy way and experience pleasure. When it comes to personal power and agency, that comes from the third chakra or solar plexus. The solar plexus says, I deserve to be respected and have healthy boundaries with others. If these 3 foundational chakras are weak or wounded, you can't experience healthy, mature love. To learn more about these 3 chakras and how to heal them, start with the classic that I keep coming back to over and over again. Mine is in Portuguese, but this is Carolyn Mays' Anatomy of Spirit. This is an amazing book. Find yours in English. Come back to it again and again. This is a classic that I still use a lot in my life. Once you strengthen your 3 lower chakras, there's one last thing to do, and you may not like it, but it's the hidden piece that will make the difference. But I realize it's a little bit controversial. You must give up on love. I know what you're thinking. Why would I give up on something I really want? Here's what happens when a woman matures into her spiritual power. She stops needing a romantic partner in order to feel whole and happy. She gives up on the idea and on the belief that she can only be happy with someone by her side. She fills herself up so much that there is no longer a need or a lack of a relationship. She says, I give up on longing for a relationship. When she drops that need and she goes off to live her life with joy and power, she drops the chasing energy. She lets go of the attachment to the idea of having a partner, and something interesting happens. She becomes so happy and whole in her life that she doesn't need a partner. She stays open and welcoming of what the universe has to offer, but the need is gone. And then one of two things happen. She loves being alone so much that she realizes she doesn't actually want a partner, or she opens herself up to receive a worthy partner, one that matches her maturity and spiritual development. And one day, in divine time, that person shows up effortlessly. Aside from the relationship struggles we talked about in this video, watch this one next if you're feeling stuck in your life right now and want to learn how to move forward.